Okay, good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Samuel. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Victor the Analyst. So today we are going to be I'll be teaching us how to create a calendar table and how you can use a calendar table to calculate your growth rate. So why do you need a calendar table? A calendar table, you actually need a calendar table when you know that there's a duplicate in your um, date column. If there's a duplicate in the date, definitely you need to create a separate calendar table to be able to do a growth rate calculation. Because the reason why is that because we make use of a time intelligence function to be able to actualize that calculations. So without much talk or do, let's try to get into the tutorial of today. So let's go to get data, go to get data from file. We go to from Excel workbook. So the next thing we're going to do is let's wait for it to come up. All right. Sorry it took time. I'll go to my desktop. I'll go to the YouTube attrition. Then I'll choose this data. This is my data. I'm going to drop this data in the video description. Then I'll click on import. So this we're going to take us to Power Query. So there are two ways in Excel in which you can actually create. There are several ways, but I'm going to teach us two major ways which I use. I make use of Power Query Editor to be able to create my calendar table, and I make use of Power Pivot. So whichever one you want to use, you are free to use them. But I'll teach us the two method in creating a calendar table. So now we are here in Power Query. These are Power Query Editor. So I will double click here. Now write fast table. Alright, hit enter. So this is my dates column. So let me check if there's a duplicate in my dates column. I'll select this, then I'll go to view and I'll click on column profile. So we can see we have distinct to be 3 and 200 and our unique to be 100. This is telling us that there's a duplicate in this our date column. So let's proceed. Now let me uncheck this. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to right click here and I would duplicate the table. Now I would rename this to be my calendar table and hit enter. So I'll select the date, right click, then I'll say remove other columns. So I'll remove other columns. I'll right click here. I'll say remove duplicate. So what's the dynamic of a calendar table? Now let me go back to my fact table and show something. So if I select this and I go to home, then I'll click on this icon here. You can see I have 1 1 to 2021, 1 1 2021. This is the duplicate. So what calendar table does is that it just pick only these dates. You understand? So it's taking just only one day and mapping it to many days in the fact table. So when we are writing our DAX function, we're not going to be using this date column here. We're going to be using this date column here because the time intelligence function works only on column that has no date duplicate. So that's what we're going to do. So one column here, one date here maps to many dates. Yeah, that's good. So we one more thing we want to drag out from here. We want to remove our year because we're going to use that as a slicer just to, but for educational purpose, you just select this and then click on the dates drop down. Then I'll choose the year. Click on year. So I have year. So I'll change this to this is the categorical data. I'll change this to text. Yep. So we are done. You can actually add in your days of the week. You can add in the quarter, etc., etc. So let's go to the home. This is close and load. Yeah. So it's going to be loaded into my Excel worksheet. So we have it here. This is my calendar table and this is my facts table. So I need to bring this into what we called power pivot. So if you don't have your power pivot up here, so I'm going to teach us how to bring that up. So go to your file, go to more, go to options, then from options go to add-ins. So when you click on add-ins, then you go to this drop down here, then we'll choose the com add-ins. Click on the com add-ins. So I'm waiting for it to come up. In your system, it might not take too long like this, just because I'm actually loading a CapCut here. That's why it's taking too long. Oh, I didn't click on go. Damn. So now when you click on go, sorry about that. So when you click on go, you're going to check this Microsoft Power Pivot for Excel. So you check this Microsoft Power Pivot for Excel, then you click on OK. Now you have this. So now this is going to show up here, Power Pivot. So I will click here. So what we're going to do is we want to bring in these two data sets into our model. So you select any point in the data set, then click on add to data model. All right. So we've added the calendar table. We've added the calendar table. This is my calendar table that we have here. So I'm going to close this. Then go to my facts table. Select this. Then I'll go to add to data model. Again, I'll add the second one too as well. So now I have this one, the calendar table and the facts table. So we have those two tables. So now I'll go to diagram view. Now I need to link the two together. So I need to link these two together to be able to work with this my calendar table. I'll click here, then I'll drag to the calendar to the other table. So I have a one-to-many relationship. So let me just cancel this. Good. So the next step is that we want to do, I'm going to show you how to use a power pivot this time around. So I'll click on manage. Now I would go to design. Now I want to use a power pivot. We've already used the power query and we've created our calendar table. So in this time around, I'm teaching you another method which you can use to create your calendar table. So I'll click on this calendar table drop down. I'll click on new. All right, so there you go. We have this. So we'll go back to the home. Go to your diagram view. So now we can see we have two calendar table here. So we don't need this. We don't need this date hierarchy. We don't need this. Just click right click and just delete that off. So we actually don't need months. Yes, this one. We don't need this as well. So now there you go. All right, so then we need to do a relationship between these two table two as well. But the thing is that at every point in time, you just need to just do only just one. The reason why I'm doing this one, I'm just showing us how to do it from the Power Query side, and this one, I'm just teaching us how to do it from the Power Pivot side. You understand? So at any point in time, you just need only just one calendar table for maybe just one data set. You understand? You don't need have to do the two. You understand? So not to cause that confusion. So I'll click on the dates and I'll click drag to the date. So I've created the relationship between both. This one is saying that one date here represents many dates here. So now we're done with this. Now we just close this. Now the next line of our objective is we want to now calculate the growth rate of this business using the calendar table we actually created. You understand? So we the next thing we're going to do, we need to create a what we call a pivot table. So select any data points in your data set. You must do that, then go to insert, then go to pivot table drop down here, then click on from table stroke range. So I'm going to just check this and I'll click on OK. Now we're going to be writing DAX. DAX is what we call data analysis expression. So what is the formula? What is the formula? That is the formula for calculating growth rate. The formula for calculating growth rate is current revenue minus previous year revenue divided by, yeah, let me just see, is this CY CY revenue divided by PY revenue. Okay, so no, CY revenue minus PY revenue. So I'll put this all in brackets. We'll put this in brackets as well. Then I'll say come here, click here. Sorry, I'll come here and say divided by PY revenue. So this is my formula. So mathematically too, we can actually still say that this is CY revenue. Understand? Let me just delete this and just do something. Let me make this thing big. Okay. Mathematically, I can say too that we can say CY revenue divided by PY revenue minus 1. So this is, you can use this is the same thing as this, you understand? So we're going to use this and we'll come back and use this, you understand? So I'll show us why we need this, but I'll first do this. This is the simpler way, but we're going to have an error, so we'll come back and use this. So let's go back to our DAX and just right click here. So we need first thing, we need to first get our CY revenue. Before we get our CY revenue, we need to calculate our total revenue first. So what's that? Let's write this our measure name, which is total revenue. Total revenue. So I'll come here and I'll say sum. We want to sum up all the revenue in that column tab. Then I'll close the brackets. So I check my DAX is okay. Now changes to currency and I'll hit okay. So let's just drag this down. We can see the total revenue output is in values. So now we have this is my total revenue. Now I want to create my CY revenue now. So right click. So total YTD. This is a time intelligence function. So this is a time intelligent function. If I've not calculated, this is a time intelligence function. This is the function I'm going to use to calculate my growth rate. So I'll say total revenue, comma, calendar table, then I'll close the brackets. So I check, and I'll make this to be currency. All right, so I need to put in my measure name, which is CY revenue. Then I'll click on OK. So the next step, I would right click, add measure. I'll go to my PY revenue. I'm going to do the calculate total revenue, comma, same period last year. So this same period last year is a time intelligence function, while this is a filter context function. So I'll try to explain this calendar date, then I would just close my bracket twice. So let's check this. Okay, then puts in currency is in. So what this one does is that it's going to say, you calculate this thing for me, total revenue, and for where this is a filter. It's saying that give me for the previous year, meaning if I have my filter in 2021, my filter in 2021, DAX, this calculation is going to give me the revenue for 2020. So that's what is going to happen. So I'll click on OK. Now let me drag those two values inside here. Let me drag these two values inside here. Good. So the next thing we're going to do is we want to get our year-to-year growth. So right click, then add measure. So year-to-year growth. So so let me drag this aside. So we're going to use this first. This person here. So we say into brackets CY revenue tab minus PY revenue tab. Then I'll close the brackets divided by PY revenue. I'll click on TAB on my system. Then I'll check the formula is working well. So I'll change this to number, and I'll change this to percentage, and I'll hit OK. So there you go. There you go. So let me drag this to this. So you can see that the business is actually having a negative growth rate from the current year to the previous year. So let's bring in a year as a slicer. So I'll go to insert. I want to bring in slicer. Slicer is just as if you are trying to filter to see what is happening in the different years. So I will not use this. I will not use this. Okay, this is what I'm going to use, this calendar. So I will choose this year. This is my calendar I used. This is the one from the Power Pivots. That's what I used. I didn't use the one I created from the Power Query. And I'll click on OK. So if I slice on 2021, we can see that we're having error. If I slice on 2022, we can see that this one comes as well because there is a previous year for the 2022. That's why we get this value. It's saying that the growth rate for 2022 it is minus 35%, but whereas there's no previous year for 2021, so we need to change this. We need to adjust this, clear this error because it's not good as a data analyst having something like this in your analysis. So let's click here back again and try to fix that. So I'll right click here, I'll click on edit. Now we're going to do I'll say if equals to blank tab, I'll say comma 0 comma shift, then I'll select this. Control C. I'll Control V here, and I'll add in one more bracket. So what I'm trying to say is that I'm saying if this expression comes out as blank, which we have before, give me 0. Else, if it does not come back as blank, give you this expression for me. So this one is checking if it is blank, and this one is carrying out the operation if it's not blank. So we are going to check, put this to uh, number, then changes to percentage. But no, this is going to be number currency. Sorry, that'll be currency because this is the previous revenue. I'll click on OK. Yeah. So the next step is we're going to see that, let's see, if I click on 2021, this is clear now. You're not having blank there now, you're having 0. Now the growth rates, we need to do something about the growth rates now. Let's deal with the growth rates. Now I will right click here, edit. So we're going to use a formula called divide to actually deal with this. So we're going to use, sorry, I'll not be able to, I'm going to use this function we have here, which is cy divided by py minus 1. So that's what we're going to use. So let me highlight this. I'll say divide, backspace. Make sure you have the equals to sign there. I'll say divide is a, so what does divide does is that it takes the numerator, which is the cy revenue, and the denominator, which is the py revenue, and is divide it for us. So if there is an error, we can actually put in an error to show that, okay, when this division is not proper, know that at some point when you click on 2021, you'll be having 0 as your denominator. So when you have your 0 as your denominator, it comes out as error. If it was, instead of it to come out of error, we can put in an alternate result for us to show here. So I would say cy revenue, I'll come here, comma, py revenue, comma. So the alternate result, I'll list 1, then close the brackets. I'll say minus now 1. So there you go. Then I'll click on OK. Now let's click on 2020 and 2021. You can see now everything is working perfectly. Everything is working perfectly. So that is how you can actually create a calendar table and use that table to calculate your growth rate. So the wrap up of things is that if there's a duplicate in your date column, please create a calendar table. And if there is no duplicate in your date table, you can use the dates column in your data to be able to calculate your growth rates. So thank you very much. I hope this is very educative, insightful, and I hope you just try to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can get a lot of tips and tricks on data analysis. Thank you very much, and thank you for your time. I really appreciate it so much.